The Europa League is absolutely stacked in the quarterfinal stage. We're going to go through it all. Liverpool fans, do you think you're going to get to the final? And will you play up against this first tie that we're going to look at, and Xabi Alonso, the man who said, no, I don't want to manage your football club? Pretty harsh, I thought. Leverkusen against West Ham. And we're going to put forward, possibly, we're starting with the possible shock for me when it comes to the quarterfinals. I think a lot of these you feel like you know where it's going. And also, actually, we'll kind of reveal the sides of the draw, because I think that's important when it comes to that road to the final where there's loads of great storylines. Leverkusen against West Ham. I feel like this should be an easy one for Leverkusen, but West Ham in the Europa League, with the assets that they have, this won't be as comfortable as a lot of people might think on paper, right?
Yeah, I think West Ham is quite a strange team in Europe, and actually just a strange team in general this season. They'll play very, very well one week, and then the next week you'll feel like they've never played together as a group of players. Like, very, very strange. But as you say, in Europe, they are fantastic. In Leverkusen, they are going to win the Bundesliga. No one has beaten them this year. But the last few weeks, they haven't looked that good. And even in the last round of the Europa League, they played Karabag. They needed a last-minute winner to even get through.
And they've had a few
to get through from there. Yeah. They've had a couple of them. And I think what West Ham did last season in the Europa Conference League will give them a massive, massive amount of confidence to go into this game. And because they are they're not favourites at all, are they? They are the massive underdogs in this round. I think that will actually benefit them massively because they have absolutely nothing to lose.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you can get this to be a game about set pieces, for the first one in particular, that second leg being at the London Stadium, I think David Moyes will be absolutely licking his lips with a game like this, because he'll be thinking, let's just absolutely stink out the place. Yeah. Going to play a low block. I did look at the set piece stats for both teams, and I thought, because I was thinking, with the monsters that West Ham have got, that's something that you could maybe get out against a Leverkusen side that are generally actually, a bit smaller. But actually, Leverkusen are really good at set pieces. Yeah. I was really surprised by that. But West Ham, I think that is an area where they could hurt them. You've got James Ward-Prowse. I also think on the counter-attack against a back three, you've got the likes of Jared Bowen, if he's fit. There's a lot of talk about that. Kudus as well has been fantastic in terms of direct running. And so from that low block position, that means there's obviously a lot of space that you can get at the opposition, and you've got dribblers who can do it. And Antonio, I think, is always, yes, he might run out of steam a little bit, but is still another useful player when it comes to sort of those one-on-one matchups. So I think it's a tricky game, but do you think that Leverkusen should have too much still?
I think the side to this I actually worry about for Leverkusen is they've been going hell for leather all season, winning game after game after game. The moment the league is wrapped up, now I can imagine that they'll go and lose a few games towards the end of the season, or at least drop points, because you just take your foot off the gas. Yeah. And then how do you keep going at this sort of like way where you go, it's 2-2, 96 minutes, we'll still win this game. So I worry about that, but they've just got too many magicians in their side. Like Florian Wirtz, 13 goals, 18 assists, all comps. But it is David Moyes. It is Jared Bowen. Everyone knows I love Jared Bowen on the counter. Hit Jared Bowen on the counter.
And at home in Europe, they do get it rocking.
They do. But I just think they've got to stay in the tie in the first leg. And Leverkusen, I think, come into this so pumped because they're 3 days away from winning the league for the first time. And then you play West Ham a few days before. You want to turn up against West Ham. You want to turn up on a weekend. Yeah. So I think I fancy Leverkusen to win, but I don't think it'll be easy.
Okay. Geraldo having a great season. Frimpong bombing up, playing essentially as a winger on that right-hand side as well. They've been unbelievable. Like, they don't lose games. So, but at some point, you maybe got to lose one. I think I want to chuck this out as a shock, but then I'm just like, okay, maybe not. I think Leverkusen will still make it through. But I think they need to win this one. If it's even going into the second leg, I would worry for Leverkusen, which I know again sounds a bit crazy, but I actually think Leverkusen will hurt them quite badly in this first one and maybe be able to manage the game in the second leg. Do you also have Leverkusen going through?
I've got West Ham going through.
Woo!
Yeah, I do. I don't really know why. I don't. Obviously, it goes against pretty much everything that I should think and know. But there's just something about West Ham in Europe, and I know there's obviously been a lot of controversy about the moving of the stadium, but the way that they got the Olympic Stadium rocking last year was absolutely incredible, particularly in Europe. It's a very intimidating place to go. I think, as you say, Leverkusen have just been going hell for leather, trying to win every single game. It's not possible that they'll go the whole season unbeaten. They are going to have to lose at some point. I think. You would have thought so. You would have thought, and I think a stubborn David Moyes defensive horror show.
It does,
it just stinks of it. It just stinks of it.
You're right. Let's keep moving. Same side of the draw. So they will take on, in the semi-finals, if they make it through Leverkusen or West Ham, they will take on AC Milan or Roma. Obviously, both teams coming from Serie A or Italy, whichever way we want to talk about it. Two teams where De Rossi's had an initial impact. That impact seems to have waned a little bit. But if you kind of box it off and make it about the Europa League, getting past Feyenoord, getting past Brighton, beating them 4-0 in that first leg, they're dangerous, but we'll go into this one as underdogs, I'd imagine, Nubaid.
Yeah, well, Milan are second in the league, so naturally Roma would be the side that you don't fancy to go through. But it's a really strange tie because, like, two Italian sides back in the days, you go head to head and you go, this is going to be a brilliant tie. But Milan have been underwhelming. Roma are really underwhelming. I know it feels better because De Rossi's there, but this, in my opinion, write it down, is the definition of new manager bounce. It felt so good for the first 5 or 6 weeks, and now they're going, oh no, actually, we're actually not that good. Like, we're back to square one. So I think Daniele De Rossi's got them playing, but then the second leg against Brighton completely destroyed them, and I was going, this is Jose Mourinho's Roma all over again.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think structurally they're maybe a touch more engaged and a bit better than they were under Jose Mourinho near the end of it. But I mean, that said, game against Lecce recently, I think Lecce had 27 shots in that game. So I'm not totally having it when it comes to Roma being totally rejuvenated under Rossi. Lukaku does not seem like a quality striker anymore. I think he's totally fallen off. And Milan, I think what I like about Milan is I think they've got a lot of pace in this side and other players that come in. Pulisic's having a good season for them. Rafael Leao, Giroud is that backboard. I think this feels like Milan for me. No? Yeah.
I would be very, very surprised if it isn't.
Okay, well there you go. So Milan to take on West Ham, apparently, if you agree with Kim, in the semi-finals. The other side of the draw, we've got Liverpool against Atalanta. Nubaid, let me come to you. How have you felt about the Europa League journey up to now?
I'm going to be honest, a little bit disinteresting, mainly because like the quality of side.
Juicy now, though, right?
Yeah, but it's Atalanta, who maybe I'd say 3 seasons ago that's a proper tie. You've got a side that are doing really well, playing attractive football. They're now not
very different, aren't they, to the Atalanta that people would have.
Imagine, I think people are still going into this going, they'll play gung-ho football, attacking. They don't play like that at all anymore. It's so strange in such a short period of time. They've completely reversed. And I think it plays right into Liverpool's hands because an attacking side that want to play counter-attacking football is not nice for Liverpool to play against. Manchester United being the sort of token of evidence there. But then Atalanta are just going to sit in and Liverpool are just going to keep the ball. Eventually, Liverpool are going to suck the ball into the net. That's kind of how it works. So in a weird way, I go into this and I go, I feel like Liverpool should win the first leg 3 or 4-0 and then walk over them in the second leg as well. And Liverpool's record against Italian teams, apart from Napoli, is very good in European competitions.
Is that the only concerns, the second legs at Atalanta?
No, I just can't see. I can't see anything other than Liverpool winning both games and comfortably going through. I think that the level in quality between the Premier League and Serie A is quite high. I think they're quite different levels. Liverpool are probably the best or second best team in the Premier League, and Atalanta, you can't say that about them in Serie A, so I can't see any problems.
Got a cracking win against Napoli recently. I know Napoli are on the floor right now, one of the worst title defences of all time, but they did look good in a game where they didn't have the possession.
Yeah.
They didn't have a lot of shots actually in that game, but on the counter attack were very good. Skamaka as well. Skamaka the attacker.
I was just about to say my boy Skamaka the attacker.
He's a funny one. I heard him described as like Ibra with a neck tattoo.
Yeah.
And
it's a bit disrespectful to Ibra, that, isn't it?
Possibly, but I think that his finishing is fantastic. And in that Napoli game, he drifted over to the left-hand side to help with the hold-up play a lot of the time, which I thought was really interesting. 3 goals in the competition so far. You've got Miranchuk as well, who offers up a bit of creativity. And I wonder who's going to be playing on that right-hand side for Liverpool, because Conor Bradley's sort of bombing on. You've got Ademola Lookman as well on that left-hand side, who's been great for them this year as well. There could be something and a bit of an overload on that left-hand side, which could hurt them. But again, I agree with you. I think Liverpool should be too good. And what I would imagine is they will really go all out in this first game. And I wouldn't even be surprised if Klopp said something in his press conference to really get at them, because you want to win this game, kind of put it to bed, so that you can be, as fresh as you can for your Premier League game.
Yeah, also, there's the other side of it that people are saying, this United draw means Liverpool are out of the title race and the momentum's gone. most of the time people say that about this Liverpool team. The next thing they do is they'll go and destroy someone. So Atalanta come into this game probably going, whatever happens, we're definitely going to lose. Just try not to lose by 3 or 4. So I'd imagine Liverpool win this by quite some distance.
Spot on.
Okay. Benfica against Marseille on the same side of the draw. You've got a Benfica side who, of course, went out of the Champions League and into this competition. And Marseille, whose sort of stats are maybe a little bit misleading. They have been blowing away some teams in Europe. 24 goals scored from their 10 matches so far. And quite a few sort of Prem rejects, if I dare say it. You've got Aubameyang, Kolasinac, Zambrotta as well, who's out there. And they come up against a Benfica side that's got some talent in there. And will be the favourites for this one, Kim, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I find Marseille quite frustrating because they've always kind of been my French team. I don't know why. I just remember being younger and watching YouTube and just thinking that they've got the best fans ever. They're absolutely nuts. Yeah. And I absolutely love watching them for that reason. But they always flatter to deceive. You always think that they're going to get results, and then they never do. Seems to maybe be like a mentality problem. I think Benfica would be favourites. I think Di Maria being in that side brings in the experience, and he might be old now, but we saw what he did in the World Cup final where, in my opinion, he was man of the match. That was only a year ago. He's now back there. So I think Benfica.
The thing for Marseille is they've got players like Ismail Assar on a counter attack, and if you're going to play counter attacking football, you need killers in the box, and they really don't have that. I think they lost 3-1 to Villarreal in the last round, and that game could have been 5 or 6-1.
Yeah, but they smashed them in the first round. Which kind of
so I mean, you never know. Like, they could park the bus and nick a 1-0 loss and then beat them 4-0. That's kind of what Marseille are like. That they're so up and down. But Benfica are pretty cold. Like, they're not going to let it get to that stage. They'll play their style of football and ensure they don't let this first tie get out of hand.
Yeah, as you look at the progression of this tournament, actually, for me, I think for Liverpool, Benfica, much harder tie if Benfica make it through. I would expect them to attack quite narrowly. Angel Di Maria, the main man, had 7 key passes in the game against Sporting Lisbon recently. You got that double pivot of Neves and Florentino Luis as well. Very exciting. A lot of people looking at Neves at the moment. I think they'll be too strong. I think they'll have too much quality, and I think they'll make it through because I think Marseille concede too many goals. So we have semi-finals of Benfica against Liverpool, and we can't decide on the other side of it. Final question. What's the final? Who's in the final?
Liverpool are in the final. We just don't know. I just can't decide.
Probably Liverpool Leverkusen.
Yeah, Liverpool Leverkusen would be the one that makes most sense. For some reason, I think it might be Liverpool West Ham. Again, don't ask me why.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, what do you guys think? Let us know. What is your route to the final? And if you are a Liverpool fan, who do you want in the final? Let us know.